Okay, it's 4 o'clock. We'll try to get started so we can finish in a timely manner. If you will, would someone pull the door too back there, please? It's good to see all of you here this afternoon. I'll call this meeting of the Senate Agriculture and Natural Resources Appropriation Subcommittee to order at this time. And I think first on our agenda we're going to hear from the Department of Agriculture. And we're going to be talking primarily about the little budget today, the supplemental budget, I know, but if you got updates that you'd like to give us or status reports, we'd be glad to hear that. So we got Bo Warren here from the department. So Bo, we'll hear from you at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and I'll be filling in this afternoon for Commissioner Black, who is he's away today for our annual policy conference with his fellow colleagues in other states. So he'll arrive back tonight. So I'll try to focus, if that's okay, just on the amended FY 2017 budget, and a couple of things I do want to highlight in that budget. You will see a request in there for 30 new vehicles that will fall under marketing and promotion as well as consumer protection, and each of those will include a request for 15 vehicles in each of those programs. We initially asked for that in bond funding, but instead we got that in cash. So we're very encouraged by that and would appreciate your favorable consideration. The 30 vehicles that those are going to replace, the average mileage on those 30 vehicles that those are replacing is right at 200,000 miles. So, and I've got copies of the mileage of that fleet if you'd like to see that. One other thing that I will mention that you will see, or just reference if you will, is our Gate Compliance Officer program. If you recall, last year we received $200,000 to develop a gate, Georgia Ag Tax Exemption Gate Compliance Officer program, where we hired 5 part-time field inspectors that are calling on the retail community, talking to them about the gate program, how to implement the gate program at the retail level. Those 5 inspectors were hired in late August. Even though they didn't start in the field till late August, there was some initial upfront expenses early on that we incurred. But those 5 inspectors, as of today, have called on over 1,000 retail facilities to talk specifically to them about the GATE program. So we're pleased with how that program is running and appreciate that funding. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it. I'll stop with that.
Thank you. Do any members of the committee have questions? I don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Next, we'll hear from Mitch Attaway, Executive Director of the State Soil and Water Conservation Commission. I believe this will be page 6 on your tracking document for the committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I would like to introduce myself to the members that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. I'm Mitch Attaway, Director of Soil and Water. Been on board for about 5 months now. Feet's almost dry, but not totally yet. We had a pretty simple amendment to our FY17 budget, and that is simply a $180 decrease to reflect some changes in our merit-based pay. That's all the activity we had. I'll take any questions if there's any, but that's all that I had to present on today.
Okay. Anybody have a question? How about giving us a little update maybe on the water program and the status of that, and where you are on that.
Okay. It's, there was a MOU signed between my agency and EPD that took effect December the 1st of last year. It's my understanding that the governor's office is exploring other options of how EPD can work in partnership with my agency or maybe another agency moving forward with that. I'll be happy to update you as I get updates coming through the pipeline. That's where I stand with it. We had 7 employees, I need to mention that, 7 employees that were working with that program that were transferred to EPD at that time as well. So.
Senator Ginn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Said, you know, we've all been sent down here to solve a bunch of dam problems, and I think that our folks at the Georgia Soil Water Conservation Commission are working on some dam problems, and maybe you could allude to the safe dam problem that you're solving. I think maybe the director's given me a little bit of numbers on that. My understanding is that we can analyze the 186 Category 2 dams, which are not a high hazard dam, do a breach analysis on those for about $2.4 million. And it'll take about 2 years to do that. And one of the things that I want to try to ask for your help in is figuring out where we can squeeze it out of the budget with our chairman and our senator from the 4th district, working to find that money to help us on the safe dams. And I want to ask for your assistance in working through these dam problems that we get into.
Yes, sir. Willing and able, and look forward to it, Senator.
Any more questions? Thank you. Not so much for the questions, but thank you for your presentation. Director Robert Ferris, the State Forestry Commission. I don't think you have any money in here, do you?
He's selling tractors.
How much do you need?
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, Chairman Wilkinson and committee members, and thank you for the opportunity to review our FY17 amended appropriations request. And I believe Michelle, our CFO, Michelle Gray, has handed out what we call a little mini budget book. It's got some pictures and graphs documenting our need to replace old wildfire equipment, and then also on the front end of that is a fire situation projection and update of our fires this year. And following suit with the others, I'll jump straight into the tracking document. Georgia Forestry Commission appropriations bill begins on section 26, page 5 of your tracking sheet. And we request and hope that this body will support the governor's appropriations recommendations as passed by the House. I'll start on line 162.1 on page 5. Those are simply merit system adjustments, and you'll see those throughout each of our program areas. On line 162.98, you'll see a name change from Georgia Forestry Commission to State Forestry Commission. No impacts with that. That's simply matching the name as it's prescribed in code section 12-6. Just trying to get consistency on that. On page 7, line 164.1, you'll see the governor's recommended salary adjustments for law enforcement officers. The GFC has 5 full-time post-certified law enforcement officers. Those individuals, men and women, are the ones that enforce the state's wildfire arson law, timber transaction laws and investigations, and all state forestry laws. The big line on page 8, line 164.3, is the recommendation for $10 million to replace outdated fire suppression equipment. That has far exceeded our industry standard replacement schedule, criteria of 20-year-old equipment on our heavier tractors, and over 200,000 miles on our Type 6 engines. We very much appreciate the governor and OPB's recognition of our critical need to replace this emergency response equipment and ask for your support on that. And I'd just like to end by saying I thank this committee for your ongoing support of the Georgia Forestry Commission and forestry in Georgia, and your support helps keep Georgia the #1 state in the nation for forestry, and it benefits our publics, the environment, the economy, public safety, and the welfare and well-being of all of Georgia's citizens. Thank you, and I'll be glad to address any questions or any aspects of the mini book in front of you.
Does anyone have any questions?
With that $10 million, how many tractors will that put in service?
That we have 316 crawlers in our fleet, and on the very back page of your budget book, there is a listing of the equipment that's proposed to be replaced. That's 50 pieces of equipment. Now that is a mix of crawler tractors, transport trucks.
That's an increase of 50?
No, sir, it does not increase. This is replacing old equipment, existing equipment. Yes, sir.
And how many did we have back here 20 years ago?
Are you talking about within the agency?
Right.
I cannot tell you exactly 20 years ago as far as heavy suppression tractors. I know we've got 316 today, which is less than we had this time last year or the year before. You may be asking about industry tractors. We used to have
I was thinking about total of industry and state.
Yes, sir. We used to have 165 industry tractors that were there side by side with us on fire plows and responding to fires. Today, that number is 15. So we've seen a drop of approximately 150 tractors in industry.
I know that you and I had talked at one time, maybe a year ago, about some of the equipment needs that you had, and I know you had some very critical needs. With this $10 million, how close will that get you to being where you need to be?
Our total gap is 24 million. If you look at all of our heavy equipment, and that is outlined midway in your little budget book here, that lists our full equipment needs, which amounts to $24.7 million. Additionally, we have a couple of aircraft that need to be replaced, have exceeded the 10,000 hour time frame. So this will make a huge dent in that gap, and is greatly appreciated. And about the fourth page back in your book is a pie chart. 10 years ago, we started down the path of converting GFC tractors, suppression tractors, over to environmental cabs. Last state in the South to do so. In a 10-year period now, we've replaced 36% of those tractors. So this 10 million, as outlined on the very last page, will go a long ways in putting our men and women back in those environmental cabs.
I know that you spent a good bit of time in District 50 during the past year with the fires that we had up there, and you and I talked from time to time. What was the biggest challenge that you had addressing that situation?
The drought and the number of fires. Up in North Georgia, the Coosa District, we had over 1,100 wildfires this year, mostly this fall. One of the biggest challenges was having the resources. Throughout the South, we're equipped with heavy equipment to fight fire for the most part. We moved hundreds of people from across the state up into North Georgia all through the fall. And most of that work was hand lines, raking those fires out with fire rakes, running hose lays down the hills. We did manage to find a way to get a crawler line off the top of Lookout Mountain down to the bottom. It's real scary to look at, but additionally, in your book there, I've heard a lot of times, well, we've got these big red fire trucks that are going to protect our homes and structures in the Atlanta and urban areas. We fought 385 fires in metro Atlanta this year, working with the fire chief. So I think the worth of that heavy equipment was well demonstrated this year.
Does anyone else have any questions? Thank you. We really appreciate the work that you do, and we appreciate your report.
Thank you, and we appreciate y'all's support. Thank you.
Commissioner Mark Williams, whose mother is one of my constituents.
Well, you beat me to the punch. I was going to say that it's great when the chairman is my mother's favorite senator. Thank you for having us today. Our figures are on your tracking sheet, pages 13 through 15. We've got some mid-year adjustments of the FY217 budget that I wanted to discuss with you today. The proposed adjustments include a budget increase to cover our agency's merit system assessment for the remainder of fiscal year. This is $1,228, and this adjustment was across all state agencies. Budget additions I want to go over start on page 13, line 228.1 under law enforcement. The Law Enforcement Division has an adjustment of $1,749,119 to cover the cost of the 20% salary increase for our frontline post officers. Line 228.3, the Law Enforcement Division also has an adjustment of $1,620,000. Of this amount, $1 million is for the purchase of 37 vehicles to replace older vehicles that meet our agency criteria for replacement, which is 7 years old and 135,000 miles. The other $620 is to complete the equipment upgrades for our FCC compliance for 19 of our 45 radio towers around the state. These are the relay towers, and these towers don't just serve us, they serve all state and local law enforcement as well. On page 14, our Parks Division has two proposed mid-year budget adjustments. $1,592,880 is included to construct a 1-mile trail along the Chattahoochee River in White County, which will connect our Hardman Farm property to downtown Helen. This is the fourth phase. We began by remodeling the house. Then we remodeled the Welcome Center the next year. This year we finished the parking lot, and this will be the final thing to connect us with the city of Helen. Your sheet shows house additions to this line of $358,634. $288,634 is for refurbishing and extending an existing walking trail at the Coosawhattie River Park in Gilmer County. And $75,000 is for the Briar Creek Revolutionary Battlefield Memorial on Tuckahoe WMA in Scriven County. Also in the Parks Division budget, line 229.3 is $1 million to complete the funding for an ongoing project at Indian Springs State Park in Butts County. And last, some great news. The General Assembly and Governor appropriated $857,140 for lifetime licenses, but we actually sold this year $1,417,165 worth of lifetime licenses. So we're asking for $560,025 to shore up the endowment fund for what we actually sold. And Mr. Chairman, I'll answer any questions, and then I will ask Rick Dunn from EPD to come up and give his section.
Thank you, Commissioner. Does anyone have any questions? Senator Ginn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Said the Commissioner, I know that tomorrow we'll have a bill dealing with people recurring their licenses and the things there, and I don't know when we start talking about budgets and what may be coming down the pike. I just want to ask that maybe we can talk offline
Okay.
about how that might impact your budget.
Thank you. I'd love to do that. Thank you, sir.
Any more questions?
Okay, I'll turn it over to Director Dunn.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner.
Chairman Wilkinson, good afternoon, members of the subcommittee. I'm Rick Dunn. I'm the Director of the Environmental Protection Division. I'll try to save some time and go straight to the line items if that's okay with you, and be happy to answer some questions to the end. We have 3 programs in Section 34. We have 225, which is Environmental Protection, 226, which is the Hazardous Waste Trust Fund, and 230, which is the Solid Waste Trust Fund. I'll start first with Program 225, Environmental Protection. There's 2 items in there. One, simply a yes item to use $7,578 in inspection and maintenance fees. This is our emissions program in Metro Atlanta, to use those fees to fund the law enforcement increase for our 2 post-certified officers. The second item there, 225.2, is just a statewide merit system adjustment that I think is in most programs as well, and that's just simply our piece that we'll pass on to DOAS. Program 226 is the Hazardous Waste Trust Fund. We have a substantial addition there. 226.1 increases funds for hazardous waste cleanup and local government reimbursement costs. That amount is $8,920,965. We have 533 sites on our hazardous site inventory. These are sites with known or suspected releases of hazardous substances above reportable quantities, which have yet to meet cleanup standards. And of those 533 sites, there are 65 what we call orphan sites. These are sites where a responsible party is not there or is unwilling to clean up the site. The estimated cost to clean up those 65 sites is about $54 million. What we do each year, we prioritize the sites based largely on threat to human health and submit that list to OPB. This year we had 9 sites on our priority list. In that $8.9 million, $6.6 million is for those 9 priority sites to clean up. The remainder of that balance of the ad relates to local government reimbursements. We are required by statute, the formula by statute, to use a portion of our appropriations for local government reimbursements for cleanup of leaking municipal landfills, and that constitutes the remainder of the balance of that $8.9 million. I'll turn now to Program 230, which is the Solid Waste Trust Fund. There's an addition, 230.1, is an addition of $438,533 for solid waste cleanup activities. As the subcommittee knows, this funds largely scrap tire cleanups. Scrap tire cleanups may be financed directly through the fund or through local government reimbursements. Currently, we have 31 abandoned scrap tire sites. That's about 130,000 passenger tire equivalents on what we call our abatement list. Our abatement list is no responsible party can be identified. The states are going to clean this up. Our estimated cost of cleaning that up is about $417,000. We plan to clean those abandoned scrap tire pile sites up through our base budget. We also have 67 additional scrap tire piles on what we call our enforcement list. That's approximately 98,000 passenger tire equivalents. Those are piles where we're still trying to actively enforce the rules with the property owner. Sometimes we'll be able to get the property owner to clean those up. Some of those sites will fall over to the fund. We currently have no funding in our base budget to address that. We'll talk about that and how that relates to the ad in a moment. We're also, with the threat of the Zika virus, establishing or set aside in the Solid Waste Trust Fund about $500,000 to fund what we're calling cleanup amnesty days for county and municipal governments, to establish an opportunity for its citizens to bring in scrap tires to a central collection point. We'll reimburse the local government of the cost of disposing of those tires. Again, we plan on funding that out of our base budget. And finally, we have 3 abandoned landfills that are requiring cleanup. They need an engineering evaluation to determine a closure plan and post-closure monitoring plan and what that would cost. That's going to cost us about $360,000. We're going to fund that with this addition of $438,000. So the $438,000 add is to account for those 3 engineering studies for those 3 abandoned landfills, as well as to fund some of the scrap tire piles that are coming off our enforcement list and onto our abatement list. And that is the governor's recommended budget. We would appreciate your support, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Sorry, Senator Black, for some reason your light's not lighting up.
How current are we on reimbursing these local governments on these cleanups?
I believe we're able to operate that pretty quickly once we get all the material, all the invoices in, and the documentation that's required. I'm not aware of any delay. So is there an issue we should be aware of?
No, it's not now. At one time, we did get.
Okay.
We did get behind.
I think that's moving pretty quickly. Aaron, is that moving quickly?
Good.
Great.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from the Georgia Agriculture Exposition Authority. I know Mr. Rogers and Mr. Shemp are both here. So it looks like we're going to get both barrels.
Thank you to the committee for inviting us to be here today. I know we have probably the thing you like to hear the best is we're not really asking for a change in our allotment. We've had a very good year. We raised approximately 91% of our operating revenues. So our allocation for the fiscal 17 budget does not change. We're thankful for what y'all provide for us and how you look after us. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about our operation.
Anyone have any questions? Mr. Shemp, are you going? You got some comments you'd like to make?
First of all, thank you for having us. I'm Stephen Shemp. I'm the executive director for the fairgrounds. We are requesting we have a capital fund request in. We're hoping that you'll give us consideration in that. We have a little bit of a problem in Perry. We've run out of arena space, so we're seeking a multi-purpose arena that we can use both for cattle shows and our equine business, and possibly other trade shows. So we're asking for approximately $8.78 million, and we hope you'll find it. And if you all have any questions about that funding, I'd be glad to answer them.
I kind of breathed a sigh of relief, when you said you had a problem in Perry. I was hoping you weren't going to say it was your state senator. So
No, sir. We've got some good ones in Perry.
yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I hate for these two guys to drive all the way up here from Perry and then nobody have any. Wouldn't you be disappointed if nobody asked you a question?
Well, we're happy to be here. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. Well, I serve on the oversight authority down there, and I know firsthand the good job that you do down there and the good things. Why don't you talk just a little bit about you? This is a good opportunity to promote what you have going on down there. Why don't you talk a little bit about the attendance at the fair and some of the things that are going on down there?
Well, 2016 was a record-setting year for us. We set all-time revenue and attendance records during our Georgia National Fair. We did approximately 536,000 people during an 11-day period of the fair. We were just shy of 1 million visitors overall this year, which was, we're trying to hit that million, but we don't fudge numbers. So we came up a little bit short, but we were about 970-something thousand people. So, our goal is to hit 1 million people coming to Georgia. They come from all over the country, all over the world, to Little Perry, Georgia, to spend money in Perry, Georgia. So we've had great programs with our youth. FFA, 4-H partnership is strong. We support them, and our whole mission during the year is to provide to them a safe and clean environment to come to showcase what they've done in agriculture. We're a huge promoter of agriculture, agribusiness, and we're getting back to our roots in children and agriculture, and that's what we're there for. We want to keep agriculture the #1 business in the state of Georgia, so we're doing everything we can. So,
Thank you very much. Thank you again for coming up here this afternoon, and thank you for the good job you do.
thank you all very much.
Next, we will hear from the University of Georgia College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences, Dr. Laura Perry Johnson.
Thank you so much, Chairman Wilkinson and committee. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences. I bring you greetings from our Dean, Sam Pardue, and Associate Dean for Research, Bob Schulstead. I'm speaking for all of us today. I believe Sam will be here tomorrow. So we also don't have any changes to our FY17 budget. We were just incredibly grateful for the enhancements that we've gotten, and we are very busy implementing those things that we were blessed to get last year. With our bond money, we are working on building cabins at Rock Eagle. We're keeping that center going full-time. We can only take so many offline at once, so we're building just as fast as we can. As far as our agent positions, we receive funding for the state portion of 12 agent positions, and we have hired those. We were actually able to fill 17 positions with those funds, so we were grateful we could leverage those county dollars and fill more positions. As far as the 5 specialist positions, we received 75% funding for those positions, and the governor did put continuing funding in the FY18 budget, so we're excited that they'll get to work more than 75% of the time. We have hired 3 out of 5 of those. The other 2 are advertised. We had a staggered plan of hire because of the partial funding, but we're well on the way. We have 2 of those starting in March. 1 of them will start in July, and hopefully by then we'll have the other 2 hired as well. I'll be delighted to answer any questions you might have, but that is the report that I had for today.
As usual, a great report.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? No questions.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. UGA College of Veterinary Medicine, Keith Harris, Interim Dean.
Yeah, interim means temporary. Just a quick update, it's okay on our dean search. This morning we had the first of 4 really outstanding candidates give a seminar. It was just outstanding, and I think it reflects on, and these folks are from all over the country that want to come here and be our dean, and I think it reflects on the quality and that not only the vet school has, but the University of Georgia and the support the state gets. I can't say that for all the schools in other states. A lot of them are really suffering right now, but we've been very, very fortunate. The handout has what our B budget priorities are for the FY18 budget. I'm just going to focus on page 1 on a one-time ask of $300,000 to procure equipment at the PDRC, that's the Poultry Diagnostic and Research Lab at the College of Veterinary Medicine. And that was pulled into the amended budget for 2017. And I think everybody, the committee is aware that in 2015, there was an outbreak of high pathogenic influenza in the Midwest. As a result of that outbreak, the state, including industry, other stakeholders, the diagnostic labs, the poultry, the veterinary diagnostic lab, and PDRC did a thorough analysis of its capacity to respond to an outbreak, and as part of that, became evident that our lab at the vet school, the PDRC, was not adequately resourced to not only address an outbreak in the state of Georgia, but to address increased surveillance that would be necessary if we had an outbreak anywhere in the country, particularly contiguous states. In a nutshell, when you have an outbreak, you've got to identify it early, quickly, and address it before it spreads to other parts of the state. So what we're asking for is equipment that not only will increase our capacity, but will also increase the speed in which we can turn around these tests. I think you can appreciate, hope you can appreciate the need to be able to do that. And I think I mentioned already, but when you have outbreaks anywhere in the country, you have to increase the surveillance of your own state so that you can identify birds that are positive, whether it's influenza or any other infectious diseases. And that's my spill for that.
Anybody have any questions? This is not a question, you don't have to answer this, but I'm just trying to remember. I have mentioned to you some of the things I think y'all look for in a dean, hadn't I?
I'm sorry?
I said I have mentioned to you some of the things I think y'all look for in a dean, haven't I?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to, I couldn't remember, I just wanted to be sure. Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
You know, we avoided the last outbreak of the avian influenza, and I know that poultry makes 32 or $34 billion impact on our state's economy, and obviously the work you did and the people you worked with played a big role in us dodging that bullet the last time. Looking back, you know, we talked a lot about, I had a lot of people tell me, you know, I represent the counties that have more poultry houses in them than any other counties in the state, and a lot of Franklin County's #1, Senator again, and but a lot of people told me it was inevitable we were going to have to deal with that. It wasn't a matter of whether we were going to have to, it was a matter of when, but you know, we were able to avoid that. How do you think we were able to do that?
Well, first I want to preface my response by saying I'm not a poultry person. I think you guys know my background. I'm the veterinary diagnostic labs, but I believe it's probably luck to some degree that it didn't hit us. It's like you said, the way this particular virus mutates and proliferates worldwide, just a matter of time before it actually gets to us. So again, the key is that when it does get in one of our flocks, we identify it early. Now, and you're probably aware of this, that we actually have had it last year in wildlife in the state on a couple of occasions. So the increased biosecurity, for example, that the poultry industry has applied is one factor in keeping it from being carried in from the wildlife into the poultry houses. But I think it's part of its luck of the draw. Now, folks in the poultry industry may have a different opinion on that, but I think it's part of it's just luck of the draw.
Does anybody else have any questions? Dr. Harris, I do want you to know this. I've worked with you, you know, since I've been in this position, and seriously, we kid a lot, but I know it's not easy being in an interim position. You got all the you have all the responsibility and maybe not quite all the authority, but I want you to know this personally, and I think I speak for the committee. I appreciate your commitment to the vet school and the work that you do. Thank you.
Well, one good thing about being interim, you can blame everything that happened on the previous dean, Dean Allen, and I can put off everything to the new dean gets here, right? So it's kind of easy in that way. But I did find out Dean Allen did a lot of work.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Senator again want to know if I was through, and now we've got one more person. Senator again, your mentor, Bob Isler, the director of the UGA Center for Forest Business. I'm going to see if he'll admit. I'm not going to turn your mic on, Senator again. I want to hear the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My dean is in Athens right now interviewing the first candidate for his new boss's job. So he asked me to come over today to present our request, which is in the supplemental budget, $75,000 one-time funding for a forest health laboratory in Tifton. The College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences was kind enough to give us the lab space, but it needs renovation and updating for the kind of work that we will be doing in that lab in Tifton. And this is for a new faculty member we hired based on the money you gave us in the last fiscal year for a new faculty line in forest health. We will match that $75,000 with money from our University of Georgia Foundation account. So we're talking about $150 total to do the job. We're only asking for $75,000 from this committee. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? I'll turn the mic on that if you want to ask me. Has anybody got any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I would like to mention before we adjourn again, I appreciate everyone being here and I appreciate those reports, and I would be remiss if I didn't recognize the man, the chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Senator Jack Hill, who joined us. So Senator Hill, we appreciate you and all the work that you do, and Senator, again, I'll try not to mess it up too much, okay? Has anybody else got any comments or questions on the committee before we adjourn? Thank all of you for being here, and this meeting is adjourned.